Over the last 90 days, I went from this to this. The goal was simple, to get as shredded as possible in 90 days. No longer, no shorter. Well, technically I think it was about 84 days, but screws up the intro. Nah, screw it. We'll go with 9 days, it sounds better. This is my exact strategy and how you can apply some of these methods to help you as well. Towards the end of the video, I'm also going to share with you some of my best tips for your peak week, for your photo shoot, wedding, birthday, whatever that special day is, whatever the occasion is. I'm going to show you some tips to get that extra 5%, 10% out of your cut for that specific period. Now, it's important that we make this very clear. These are my specific stats. So the calories and macros I'm going to be sharing with you are specific for me, my body composition, my goal, my weight, my height, everything. So I'm not saying they're going to work for you, but you can use my method to figure out your own. And not only that, you can use all the other tips in here to get insane results as well. So day one, my starting weight was average 84 kilograms. The current calories I were on were about 4,000 per day. Day one of the cut, I started with 2,700 calories every single day. The macros, to be 100% honest with you guys, they were pretty flexible. I was aiming for a minimum of 180 grams protein, and honestly, carbs and fats, they just did whatever they want. I was mindful to keep the fats low, but when your calories drop, that generally happens anyway. After a couple of weeks on 2,700, I dropped to about 2,500 calories. Now, I stuck with 2,500 calories for probably 80% of the diet. Last couple of weeks, I dropped to 2,300, about 2 weeks out from the photo shoot. And then the last week before the photo shoot, I dropped calories to less than 2,000. Now, for me, this is not sustainable in the slightest. It wasn't too bad because I knew in my head it's only a week. It was only actually 5 days, because the last 2 days I slowly started to increase carbs back up. These 4 days consist of about 1,600 to 1,900 calories, which is quite low. But again, it has to be done. On the day of the photo shoot, I got all the way down to 75.3 kilos. Now, that's not my average weight, that was just the weight. The day of the photo shoot, morning weight. By no means did I get insanely shredded, or obviously close to, stage shredded in my opinion. But even so, I feel like I did get very lean. It's probably the leanest I've been in a fair amount of time. And for me personally, that level of body fat and conditioning is just not sustainable 365 days a year. Now, there are some crazy genetics and just crazy physiques out there that do walk around day to day that shredded, even more shredded, looking a lot more jacked and shredded than I was. But it is important to keep in mind, everyone is going to be different. For me, I can easily sustain, a couple kilos heavier than what I was, still lean, still feel good, still feel super confident, but not to that extent. But some people will have those crazy genetics. Now, as a side note, I think it's super important to keep that in mind, especially when you're on your own fat loss journey, or if you're doing a photo shoot, whatever it is, because it is pretty easy to get caught up in that whole world, comparing yourself, thinking, look at whoever it is you look up to on Instagram or whatever, and think, damn, why do I even bother?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Because sometimes I think like that too. Guys, you can't think like that though, and you always just compare yourself to your last self, which is exactly what I did this time, and it's exactly what I always strive to do. Now, how long would this take you? Obviously, this depends on your starting point, how committed and compliant you are, and how much hard work you put in. The only thing I would recommend here to keep in mind is, number one, like I just said, never compare yourself to anyone else's physique, only ever compare yourself to yourself. And number two, give yourself a time frame and stick to it. That's super important. Otherwise, you'll wind up in this weird phase of forever dieting, which is not ideal for anyone. What was the hardest part over the last 80 to 90 days? Being fully transparent with you guys, this is the easiest cut I've ever done. And I've been thinking a lot lately about why that is, and I kind of put it down to two main reasons. The first reason being, in my bulking phase, I took it pretty seriously, and I kept increasing my calories even though I didn't want to, because I wasn't hungry and I didn't like the way I looked, but I knew it would be important when it came time to cut. I've never had my calories up to 4,000 before, so having them up to 3,800, 4,000 on a consistent basis was very high for me, and I was never really hungry. So when it came time to do the diet, I was so keen and excited to get into it because I just didn't want to eat that much food anymore. So I think that's one of the reasons I was very excited to diet, and because I had spent such a long time kind of never being hungry, I think that helped a lot. Once I dropped my calories, got used to it really quickly, and I thought this is actually a lot better. The second reason is I experimented with a full week of nothing but microwave meals, and after the week I did continue to use them 1 to 2 times per day, and I'm still using them at the moment. The reason I think this helps so much is pure convenience factor, and it takes away that food focused mentality, which if you've ever done a consistent deficit before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't have some sort of meal plan or guide, or for me it was these microwave meals just ready to go, you're continually thinking about food. When's the next meal? How many calories do I have left? How many macros? What could I fit in it? Oh, should I have this? Should I have that? And that makes your brain get so food focused that it makes the diet so much harder. And the less you can think about food, the easier every single day is. So I highly recommend giving that a try on a deficit if you've never done it before. And then obviously the lean gaining phase did take time. It's just part of it. When should you start your diet? Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because I think there is never a perfect time to start your diet. And this is super important to get across, because I hear so many people say, yeah, I'm gonna start on Monday, or yeah, I got this holiday coming up and I'm gonna start after that. Or you know what, once Christmas and New Year's are done, I'm gonna start. So we just got back into Perth. As you can see, moving house. I don't think I've had a cooked meal in like 3-4 days, so I've just been living off the microwave meals and Subway, because you can get pretty good macros on Subway. So not ideal for cutting, but I mean, we're hitting macros, making it work, so it's no big deal. And yeah, keep pushing, keep this train rolling. Got about, I think, 3 more weeks left of the diet, and then good to go. Let's keep this train rolling. The reason I bring this up is because during this cut was not the ideal time for me to be doing a diet. But if I didn't do it, I would just be saying, oh yeah, after this, after this, after this. And you just can't do that. In the last 90 days, I had a 3-day holiday. I did a few experimental videos and challenges, which made it a lot harder. I moved states, which meant I went roughly 1/3 of the cut without a proper bed. By the way, that's rough. Never take your bed for granted. I also went 1/3 of the time without proper cooking utensils and a proper fridge. Now, as you can imagine, this made that very hard. So I'm basically just trying to show you that no matter what you have gone on at the time, you're always gonna have stuff on, you're always gonna have social events. Not to mention in this time, I obviously had mates' birthdays come up, social events, family events. You just have to work that in, or you have to sacrifice something. So last but not least, the peak week tips, or tips to get that 5 to 10% extra benefit out of that special day. As you saw in my morning physique shot, it is a little different to the final photo or videos, and this is simply due to a few things. A good dose of carbs, a solid pre-shoot pump, and some good lighting. Never underestimate how good you can look with some good lighting and a good pump compared to shit lighting and no pump. So what I did in the last week was I took my calories down a notch even further, basically had a maximum of 2,000, which I did not allow myself to go over. Most days I was hitting in between 1,600 to 1,900 calories. Now for me, that is very, very low, which means I dropped another good 1 to 1.5 kilos off just in that last week. Another thing I did was keep my water very high, which helps you to lose more weight, constantly going to the toilet. And another thing I did was also drop my carbs down. So you're gonna lose even more, you're gonna be very depleted, but then a day or two before the photo shoot or whatever your event is, you increase the carbs, keep the water intake nice and high, take a nice little pre-workout citrulline malate, which is one of the main ingredients to help get a filthy pump, eat some delicious carbs, and away you go. You'll be sorted. That is my 90-day, 84-day, whatever, my 90-day transformation. I hope that inspired you, hope that helped a little bit. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to help out in any way I can, and hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.